eventually. Football made simple. Become great at your craft by finding ways to make it simple for those around you. This is the Coaching 101 podcast hosted by Find a Way Productions with your co-hosts Daniel Chamberlain and Kenny Simpson. What's up, coaches?
Hey, Coach.
This is the Coaching 101 podcast. I'm Daniel Chamberlain. That over there is Kenny Simpson. And we have a guest on today, Coach. I'll let you introduce yourself, man, so I don't screw up your name or where you're at or whatever else, man. So tell us who you are.
Well, thank you guys for having me. My name's Kevin Wewers, and first and foremost, I'm excited to be on this podcast. It's an honor. Love watching you guys, man. You guys have had some great coaches, and so I feel humbled to get to be on here with you guys.
Yeah, well, you're following Noel Mazzoni, so no pressure. He was pretty good, so we expect great things.
Yeah. No doubt. A little bit about me, though. I'm an Arkansas native, and so I'm in my second stint here at Arkansas Tech. Started as a high school coach in the state. Came to Arkansas Tech as a graduate assistant. Graduated as an undergrad from here, and so this is my home. Met Coach Brent Dearman, and we were able to move around together with a couple jobs, and so the right opportunity came back, and I got to come home and be the offensive coordinator here, and so nobody's more blessed than me, and so. Thank you guys again for having me. Looking forward to today.
Yeah, man. Brent Dearman's one we haven't been able to lock in yet. So, Coach, if you're out there listening, I'm going to get you on the Coaching 101 podcast. I really want to talk to him about some RPO stuff. I'd love
Coach Cruz come on. Coach Cruz is a good one. And by the way, just a real quick plug, that UNA staff is extremely impressive. I got to meet several of those guys. I know, Coach, that's where you kind of come from with all your background. And we were talking kind of off air, like, my son's going through this process. There are about 5 or 6 schools I'm comfortable letting him actually go play college football because I know that's become a business. And the guys at UNA, I think they treat those kids well. But, you guys know at Arkansas Tech, new staff coming from OBU as well. So those of you who are listening and maybe have a son coming through, I'd recommend you do a lot of research on these college guys, like as it's a business, and I don't want to send my kid off to play for guys I don't trust. And I know UNA's guys you would trust. There's a lot of other schools, and I know Coach is one of those too, or we wouldn't have him on our podcast. So
that's
what we think.
Yeah, 100%. Sweet. Well, I'll tell you what, man, we're going to knock out this quote of the week. We'll get through our ads, and we'll get into the conversations. Coach Simpson, if you could, hit us with the quote of the week, please.
Yeah, quote of the week is similar to what we did last week. I thought it was pretty good. It's Lou Holtz, one of the best coaches to ever, coach, said if you burn your neighbor's house down, it doesn't make your house look any better. And we've kind of been going through this. I know college after college after college coming in the spring, and you can kind of tell a lot about character from those kind of guys of how do they speak about other schools. And you see it in the high school level too. We can say that there's no recruiting in high school, but let's be honest. Everybody wants to have the best kids on their team. In Arkansas, there's rules in place there, but you're always wanting your program to be the best.
For sure.
That's whatever it is. How you go about that, I think, speaks volumes of who you are. Are you going about that belittling other people to make yourself look good? Or are you going about that being honest and complimenting others, but just saying, hey, we're trying to do things this way, and however they do it is how they do it. I think that's an infectious disease if you get into it where you think you've got to belittle somebody else to make yourself feel good. And I think football as a sport is inherently unselfish, but with the NIL and a lot of the new stuff coming around, travel football is going on, 7-on-7 football is going on, where it's becoming easier to make it about one player and become more selfish. I think we've got to be very, very conscientious of kind of getting that out of our system. I think the biggest way you do that is it's okay for other people to have success. It doesn't mean that you're not having success too.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. That's a good quote and a good idea right now, and it has become very, like you said, just one athlete centric. It's all about me. Showboats, there's camera crews at every event nowadays. Taking pictures. Like it's getting pretty crazy. But that was a good one. Sweet. Let's jump to these ads real quick, Coach Simpson. If you don't mind, tell us how to simplify football for our staff and for our players. All right, if you guys are watching live, you know the drill here. We're going to put in some digital ads here that have come out for the actual podcast. We're going to clap our hands, get right back into it. Awesome, Coach. Appreciate that. Guys, if you haven't already, you need to be reaching out to Ace Sports. You've probably missed your window to get a board up this year. But that doesn't mean you can't get Mark or RJ or Ryan or those guys in front of your admin now and start looking at video boards for the future. I called it the cheat code, and I mean it. It is the cheat code for fundraising at the high school level. So go out and talk to one of those guys, get them in front of your admin, let them work out all the numbers. You get a beautiful board. Your school starts making money hand over fist. It's good business. Coach, real quick, I want to talk about the and I know you got the new 3-4 Swarm book, right?
Yeah, a lot of new stuff out. 3-4 Swarm. There's a new play caller guide book out. A lot of that stuff's been really cool. It's my wife had to do a reorder on some of the defensive stuff, so it's been pretty. It's always a good thing.
Yeah,
I got to pay for next year. I'm paying for 2 kids to go to college, so if you can spare $20 for a book, that helps a little bit. But honestly, if you want to read football, reach out and I'll help hook you up with all of it. It's over at fbcoachsimpson.com.
Perfect. Real quick, I'll mention my Patreon, patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting, where I'm helping coaches everything from, churching up your Twitter to, helping create a recruiting page for your kids, sending out graphics about your kids, celebrating your program, whatever it is you need help doing. A little bit of X's and O's thrown in there. If you're a youth guy, especially, I can probably help you more with X's and O's. For you, you big shots, I'm going to send you guys to Joe and Kenny because they're the experts. But patreon.com/Chamberlain Football Consulting. Headsets Magazine's the last ad here, and we're going to push on. If you want to write for Headsets Magazine, there is a window to get one more this year, right, Coach?
2 more. There's 2 more.
Still 2 more. 2 more for this year. If you are just looking to read some football stuff and learn ball, you can jump over to fbcoachsimpson.com/headsets. That'll take you to the digital magazines, all free. It's all written by other coaches. Should be good. A good place for you to go and learn whatever it is you want to learn. That's everything is in there, from X's and O's to program building to whatever. Leadership. I wrote some leadership articles last year. There's a ton of stuff. Jump over to fbcoachsimpson.com/headsets and get the magazine today. Question 1. And Coach Wewers, we're going to start with you, man. Question 1 here is just, I want to know, so at the high school level, I kind of draw my inspiration from guys that I know in my network. So Joe, Kenny, Cameron Palmer, and then college guys, right? Because I can't do what the pros are doing. I don't even understand their lingo half the time. But college guys, I really like to reach out and leech off of their whatever they're doing. We're talking about Brent Dearman earlier. I'm trying to look into his RPOs and figure out how I can run that at my level, if it's even feasible. So where do you go to draw inspiration? I know you're an OC there at Arc Tech, and you've got to be getting inspiration from somewhere.
I'm going to be honest with you. I draw a lot of inspiration from high school coaches because I was at Pottsville High School 2 days ago, and I was talking to them about their down G. Just because I in the world of coaching today, I think high school coaches sometimes are some great innovators, right? And in the world of the transfer portal today, I think that, and I'm going to probably allude to this a little bit as we go, but your team's always changing and always evolving, and so having a base offense that's simple is really important to me. And then guys that are like me or kind of see the game like me, or that I've worked with, and I know how they think and I know why. Those are kind of where I really get my inspiration from. So high school coaches, I think, do a tremendous job as a whole of really utilizing the resources that they have and then fitting their scheme to what they have.
No, and that's we've heard that from more than one coach too, about everything used to trickle down constantly, and now we are getting that trickle up effect. Woo, tongue-tied this morning. Because of, you are seeing every defense in the book. Defensive coordinators too in high school, right? They have to stop. 1 week it's the gun tee from Kenny. Next it's the pistol power offense for Joe. Next it's Cameron and his single wing, multiple throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you. And you got to do all those in back-to-back weeks with almost no time to prep or plan.
No doubt. And you never know. I love going, getting out in the spring, going to visit coaches, and definitely trying to recruit kids. But I'm also trying to learn 1 or 2 things from everybody that I come across. And it's as simple as, hey, coach, tell me what you're doing and talk to me about this play and how do you see this. And I feel like I've been in it enough to know some of the issues and some of the plays and how they get around those issues. And so I'm sure I put too many coaches on the spot when I'm out on the road, but I'm just always trying to learn. And I always feel like I'm trying to be a student of the game. And it could be a high school coach, and if he's 70 years old, I'll spend 2 hours in there talking with him. And just because of how much wisdom that he has, And I use this as an example when I was talking at Pottsville High School. When I got my first job, was the defensive coordinator for Coach Dearman when he was at Bethel. And Coach Monica was the head coach here at the time. And one of the first questions he asked me was, how was I going to line up to 21 personnel? And it kind of really hit me that he saw the game in 21 personnel. And I've always I'm a millennial coach. And so I feel like I've always seen the game in 10 and 11 in the spread picture. And so it really hit me that there was a little bit of an age gap there between me and him. So always been interested in how maybe older guys see the game and kind of where it's evolved to. And so love talking to older coaches. I think sometimes as a whole, it's where I get my inspiration.
It's actually really funny that you kind of mentioned that he sees the game in 21 person. There's so much truth to that. Like not only do we find a thing that we're comfortable calling and existing in a realm that we want to be in, but just that vision, the goggles that are on make ball different for everyone. Right. And luckily I ran into Joe was the first kind of mentor coach I had in X's and O's. And he is very much you line up every defense to 21 personnel to start, and then you go out from there, which is something he got from, his mentor. So he's the tree has continued to grow there. So I can see the game that way, but I'm definitely 11P guy. Like
I am too. I tell everybody I'm a millennial, and I go in some of these high schools and you see some wing T and some true veer teams, and you're like, man, you guys, y'all don't know it, but if y'all were ever in college, y'all would wear a lot of defensive coordinators out because they just don't see, they don't see that. They see 11 personnel inside zone and outside zone and more stuff that you see in the NFL than they do true wing teams. So a lot of your millennial coaches, I think, would really struggle to fit in some of those teams because they just don't see it like that. And so always been fascinated with a lot of those offenses.
Kenny's he's the master of running the 12P right now. So he's mixing the two worlds. Look, I may not have two backs on the field, but I do, and he's playing slot receiver right now, and I'm still going to get my two tight ends in here.
I can see. I think the game is kind of going back that way a little bit. Teams are starting to use more 12 personnel now than what it was. I feel like everything in the 2000s was spread tempo, and now I feel like it's getting heavier and maybe slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, we got Coach Bowler here. Coach, if I messed up your last name, he's talking about an older coach, they're going to put in quarterback sneak, younger generations power counter. 100%, man. Like I think it's probably credit to Kenny Simpson right here, Coach, is that more people are thinking gap scheme first. There's still your guys out there that are doing zone scheme, but the rest of us just want to get in power and counter and go on with life, right? Like,
absolutely. I can say this for coaches out there. I've been in a job interview one time, and head coach asked me, he said, hey, how much under center are you going to do? And I just said, we're a gun team. And it blew his mind when I said, really none. And he's like, so on 4th and 1 for the game, you're going to get in the gun. And like, that really changed me a little bit, and it made me realize like, hey, he grew up in a world where the quarterback was always under center. Yeah. And truth be told, and Andy Koldnicki is the OC at Penn State now, but the first time in college that we ever got in a huddle was when I was at Kansas. And just never, it was always spread tempo. And so it's crazy how this game evolves and changes. And I feel like I'm always trying to stay on the cusp of it, but you can go down a rabbit hole there and you can become somebody that you don't want to be. But sometimes you just, you want to study just to know where the game's headed. And I think sometimes high school coaches and older coaches can give us a lot of insight there.
We've been talking. Go ahead, Kenny.
I was going to say, to me, these D2 coaches, I think, or NAIA coaches can relate to a high school coach a whole lot better than a guy at a D1 or at another level because they just recruit what they want. And when you see the NAIAs, the D2s, the D3s that are winning, constantly winning, even probably FCS level teams, is because they're running something different that fits their kids. So when I see all these colleges come through, I can tell which ones are going to win in D2 and which ones aren't by how they recruit. If they come in and say that kid's not 6'4", we can't take him, you're going to lose. Because those are the guys that you need to be cherry picking the best athletes and modifying to what they do. Absolutely. You look at in our state, you look at Ouachita Baptist, you look at Harding University. Tech's going to get their coach. I'm faithful because I know you guys have brought in some good ones. Those are guys that are looking at, we're going to take the best kids we can get and we're going to modify to what they do. Absolutely. That resonates with a high school coach. Like that resonates with me,
Absolutely. And the transfer portal, in my opinion, just to kind of dive into a little bit, has really made that even more so. Because at the end of the day, just like in high school, you don't know who your best 11 is going to be until that first practice in the fall. And you always got to cater what you're doing to what your best 11 are, right? Or your best 12 or 13 guys, right? And so to me, more so than ever, it's become about having an offense that can adapt to personnel versus, to me, the old traditional college way was, hey, we're going to recruit to our offense. Now you're trying to, it's more the high school mentality of, hey, let's adapt our offense to the personnel that we have.
Let's just get some dudes in here and see what we can shake up.
I know Tech's got 2 because I played against them. They came to my team camps from Newport at receiver. If I had those 2 kids, we might be in, don't hold me to this thing. We might be in 20 personnel instead of 12, because if I had freaks on the edges like that, we might have some 3 wide receiver sets.
Absolutely.
We don't normally have that at my school. So therefore we've stayed with tight end wing for a long, long time.
Absolutely. And to me, what it becomes is, can you run the same plays in 10 and 11 as you can in 12 and 21? And that to me is, what our offense is going to be rooted in, right? We're not going to do a lot, but we're going to be able to do everything out of multiple personnel groupings. And then, you never know week to week. Somebody may get banged up and, hey, now we need to be a little heavier this week than we were last week because we don't have this guy. And some weeks maybe you lose a tight end, right? And, hey, maybe we need to be more 11 personnel this week than 12. And so find that balance, but not, I think sometimes when you're in 10 and 11, it's easy to adapt, right? Because the tight end a lot of times is the adjuster. But when you want to start going from 11 to 12 and 11 to 21, now you got to really a lot of times start making some calls that change things.
When you look at the difference in high school and college too, Coach, is when y'all go from 10 to 11, there's a guy over there on the other side. Because when I was at Searcy, it was this way too. There's a guy on the other side that's holding up personnel groups, and they're running different defenders out there.
Yep.
The high school level, when I go from one to the other, no one on the defense comes on the field or goes off the field. And so, especially at a smaller level, their best 11 is their best 11. So there might be games where shoot tight end wing and they really can't adjust to it. But I flex the same kid that was tight end out, and now I got a 270-pound DN trying to flex out and play force and for space. So I think that's a big deal. I know we're going to talk about differences later on high school, college, but I think that's the biggest one is you guys are going to have to be a little more complex in what you do than probably a high school is, because the defense has more answers to give you.
I say this all the time. Your personnel doesn't have to dictate your formation. And I think that's what some of the best in the business are doing right now is they're just putting their best 11 out there, but still running whatever formations they want to run. And so that I spend my time, I feel like, looking at more of that than I do true plays and X's and O's, just how to utilize guys.
Right, for sure.
So I guess we got to ask a little bit here, Coach, is just how do you see the game kind of changing moving forward, like next 5 years window or something? What do you think is coming around
in the next 5 years? I wish I could say that. I'd love to say that we get a grasp on this transfer portal. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully there is, because and I'm just saying what this does from a high school coach's perspective is there should be college coaches flowing in and out of high school right now. But a lot of times your college coaches are sitting here at this desk and they're watching film on transfer guys and they're trying to find that. And so, it's crazy right now in the world, the transfer portal, because you got to find that balance, right? And I think everybody wants to live in high school recruiting, right? I know at Arkansas Tech, the foundation of our program is going to be high school recruiting. But you're also looking for guys that can help you a little bit right away, right? And that's the balance sometimes, is the guys that you take that you can develop into a good young man, a good player, which is what we're about as a program. And then you'll find guys that, hey, maybe he's transferring back home and needs a place to go to school. So you're always trying to find that balance. But I'd love in the next 5 years we get a handle on that transfer portal, and it just would free me up to spend more time in high schools talking to coaches and recruiting high school student athletes. As it relates to X's and O's, I kind of like I said, I think I kind of see the game going back to more 12, which is your millennial coaches grew up in 10 and 11, right, and a little bit of 20. But I think that 12 is coming back. And I think just because, playing with more of a hand down tight end versus more odd fronts that you see in defenses today is really coming back around.
Well, it's easier. I don't know, you're in the world of recruiting, but I know like at high school, it's easier for me to find H-back tight ends than it is to find elite wide receivers. Like,
Absolutely.
That's our demographic here at Southside, and it may be different if you were in a more urban area. But for us, I can find a kid. You know, my son's a good example of a. You know, I could find usually on each team you're going to have a 6'1", 6'2", 190-pounder that's going to run a 4.6, 4.5. Like, he's going to be in that world. And when you can put him as an H-back, tight end, flex out, he's a nightmare matchup.
Absolutely.
If I took that kid and just stuck him out there at receiver, they're going to have a corner that can run with him. Or I put him just at running back, they're going to be able to match up with that. But most high schools have one or two of those types of kids. And I would imagine the college world, there's more of those available. So you're seeing that. And I want to kind of mention on the transfer portal too. I do not envy you guys. Like, you guys come on. We just had y'all's DC came on our campus and talking to a couple of our kids. We've got two kids that they're college players. They're going to play somewhere. But I'm trying to talk with, I'm one of the dads, and the other guy's the other dad, and trying to go, how does this work? I said, well, you got to think about these guys. Could they recruit my kid who's 18 and he's going to play for them in 2 years, and they may be fired before he's even ready to play? Or they better get this 22-year-old who's going to help them win an extra game, where now they keep their job. And they got to balance that stuff. Where if you have sustained success, some of these schools that win all the time, that's what they're going to do. They're going to keep recruiting high school kids. But the D1s that we're talking to, there's several of them that have just told me, Coach, we're not recruiting a high school running back, or we're not recruiting a high school linebacker, or we're going to recruit one because we're going to just count on the portal. And so you're going, well, shoot, I guess I can't argue with that guy because he's got to win or he gets fired, exactly. So you have to go with it. And so it just makes it really difficult to have sustained success, because you saw Florida State was the picture of what happens when you live on the portal.
Absolutely.
Like, you go really far and then you should have probably lost your job. Like, that's kind of where it swings. So that's tough. I don't envy that on you guys' world. And that's going to kind of lead, I think, into the next question we have down was the biggest difference. You've coached in high school and now you're coaching in college. I'm sure that's one of them. But what are the biggest differences you see?
Between high school and college, and I want to say before I kind of get into this, I feel like the biggest loser in the transfer portal a lot of times is high school kids.
Yes,
because they're the ones that get overlooked a lot of times when they really shouldn't be. But as it relates to high school versus collegiate coaching, I think a lot of times high school coaches do a better job of really teaching the foundation. And teaching that passion and love for the game. And I think college sometimes almost gets viewed as more of a business, right? As more of a, hey, this is their job. I think high school coaches do a great job. And a lot of times I think high school coaches, in the time they get them, do more with them transformationally sometimes than colleges do. I feel like they're probably at about 90, a lot of them about 90% of their full potential by the time we get to them, by the time they get to us. And so the high school coach has done such a great job from a lot of times middle school all the way up of really just, giving that love for the game, and then helping them become the best version of who they can be. And so I pride myself on being a transformational coach and helping guys become the best version of themselves. But truthfully, I don't know that I ever do as much as that high school coach did for them. Or, sometimes their parents or, whoever that is that really got them to 90% of their true capacity, I feel like. And so that to me is the biggest difference, is how the game's viewed, how the game's viewed a little bit. And so, again, I can't say enough about the job that high school coaches do and the role that they have in the lives of the young men that they encounter. I don't think there's any greater influence on the lives of a lot of the, student athletes that we've had than their high school coach.
We've kind of talked in the last couple of weeks about there's this weird conundrum. I mean, I talked about it with Coach McPeak up at Kentucky more than anywhere else, but basically, like, everybody's pushing off the development of players to the next highest level.
Yeah.
But every higher level wants the lower level to have already done it. So it's like no one wants to take the time to develop kids. So I'm actually, it was kind of an interesting statement for you to say, is like, hey, we're getting, kids that are 90% there.
It also depends on who they're recruiting. Like, if you're in the state of Arkansas and you're recruiting from Northwest Arkansas, those dudes are going to be coached up. And I'm not saying that the other guys aren't coached up. There's good coaches across our state everywhere. But there are certain schools that you probably know, if you get this kid, that school has probably maxed his potential out.
Absolutely.
Others kids are getting where maybe not.
Absolutely. And, here's an example, right? I recruit, a lot of smaller schools, right? And, smaller schools, they only have so many athletes, right? And generally those athletes got to play multiple sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you look into that and you say, all right, well, this young man's been playing 3 sports for the last 4 years. How much time has he truly spent in a weight room?
Correct.
Right. And so then you come here and you're like, oh, this kid's going to get 3 meals a day. He's going to be in a nutrition program. He's going to lift. He's going to lift every day or every other day. And you just try to project like, hey, what's this guy going to look like in a year after he spends a whole, year in the weight room, and some guys, they've already have that background. Right. And so every coach, I think, is doing the most that they can for their kids. It's just every background's a little bit different. Right. You're always, as a college, you're trying to project a lot of times what they can be with you, whether it's by position or what they're going to look like or, that kind of thing. But I still think that, high school coaches as a whole do a great job of being transformational for their kids.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this too, when you look at like, even at the high school level, probably even at the youth level, I mean, like if you coach youth football and they have a tryout, you're going to try to pick the best kids you can so that you can win. That's just how it is. In college, they were going to recruit them. High school, for a long time, you couldn't recruit, and you're still not technically supposed to recruit. But we all kind of know that, hey, I'm a lot smarter coaches. Like, I'm a pretty smart coach because I got 3 college athletes that are going to touch the football for me every play. Like, I think I'm going to be pretty smart this year because I can run it with a running back who ran for 2,100 yards. I can give it to a D1 who's playing wing back, and I got a quarterback who's probably going to be a Division I, Division II type player. Absolutely. I'm pretty smart. So the problem that you face as a coach is that can be an addiction, like just going and recruiting a good team and never improving yourself as a coach.
Absolutely.
The other side of the coin is you don't pay any attention to making sure you have the best athletes and you just think you're going to outcoach them X's and O's. That doesn't work either because that whiteboard doesn't really play football. Absolutely. So there's a fine balance there that's one of the reasons I've never went into college coaching is I don't want to get into that recruiting stuff that I'm sure you've got to balance. Because to me, all things being honest, I'd rather sit down with a pen and a pad and draw plays up. Like that's what I would like to do. But at the high school level, I think you have more time to actually do that stuff than you'd probably do at the college level. And that's again, you can speak to that because you've been on both sides of that. Is that an accurate statement or not?
It is 100% an accurate statement. And if you had to look at the amount of time that I spent, especially this time of year, but the amount of time I spend recruiting versus, truly watching film, watching X's and O's, I mean, it was probably 90-10,
Right.
And, it's just part of our job here. Recruiting was one of the foundations of our program, and we have to do it to be successful. In the high school level, right? A lot of times you guys are already gifted what you have, right? And you get to see it coming up. Oh, this guy's going to be he's going to be a junior this year, and he's going to be a senior, and then what's coming up from junior high to senior high. And so you guys kind of get to look down the road a little bit more than what we get to, if that makes sense. We're more year to year.
Right. And you're not supposed to recruit in high school. So, I mean, you kind of know what you have, what you got to adjust to. But I think that's the biggest difference. And, Daniel, that's why I think, like, these poor guys at the college level, they do a great job. But you don't see a ton of, like, just great scheme because they're having to spend so much time recruiting.
Absolutely.
Where at the high school level, I got hours upon hours to sit over here and dream up, well, what if we put tackle over and then did this? And what if we did this and did this? Because I'm not having to spend 90% of my time on the road recruiting kids.
Absolutely. That's so true.
Sweet, man. We'll kind of push through here, and we do want to tackle the portal and NIL thing because we don't get a lot of college coaches on here. We talk to a lot of high school guys, and we know what our perspective is of it, right? I know we touched on the portal already a little bit, and I'll
do this one, Daniel. How about this? How about we ask, like, Coach, you guys are recruiting a kid. You walk into a school. What can the coach do to help the kid? Because I've got a lot of, like, parents that, hey, Coach, it's just how it is. It's frustrating on both ends of the coin. I'm sure very frustrating. What are some? Because I want to give practical tips to a high school coach of, hey, here's some things you can do that would help you get your kids recruited. Because some guys, man, they do this very well. In our state, I think the guy at Forest City, unbelievable. Yep. I don't know what he's doing. He has some freak athletes. That helps. But he's getting those kids. I mean, they're getting offer after offer after offer. I'm sitting over here banging my head against the wall going, all right, what can I do to help my kids? Because I want to help my kids too. And there are other coaches in the same boat. So, what are you, like, when you guys talk to a high school coach, here's 3 or 4 tips you can do to help your kids?
If I could say 2 words, I would say patience and persistence. Patience in the sense that, a lot of times we don't know from month to month what our roster is going to look like, right? At any point, we could have a guy hang it up and like we may be, not looking for a running back. And then 1 month we may have a guy say, I don't want to play anymore, or, hey, I want to go to school here, right? And now we're looking for a guy, right? And so, I showed up at a high school and, hey, this is what I think our running back room looks like. But truthfully, I don't know what it's going to look like in 6 months. And so patience and then persistence, right? I think a lot of times just staying in touch with coach and saying, hey, look, I know you weren't looking for a running back. Just want to remind you about this young man that I have in our program. Think he would be a great fit for you. Think he would do a good job for you. Because, truthfully, in our business, you never know. And in July, right, we may not be looking for a guy. In December, we may be looking for a guy. And so sometimes just saying something in July and, kind of getting your heart broke because we may not be looking for a guy versus saying something in December when we are looking for a guy. Now it's like, oh yeah, he's been texting me for the last 3 months about his running back. The persistence there can pay off. And then also, the fact of, hey, right now we're not looking for a guy, not getting your heart broken, but say, hey, listen, that doesn't mean never, right? Never say never in this business, because you never know what each day holds and what, our team roster is going to do. So patience and persistence, I think, from high school. And I get to say that because I've been on both ends of the spectrum, right? I've been that high school coach that's trying to get a kid to a university, right? And I've been that college coach that's in there recruiting. And so I kind of feel like I get the unique perspective of seeing both sides of it. And I think sometimes as a college coach, you go in there and, you're recruiting a running back, right? Or you're recruiting a receiver, and he's a really good player. And we come back as colleges and, we watch them all and we rank them. Hey, this is our top guy. This is where this guy's at. Well, the thing is, you can't fall in love with the top guys, right? Because you never know what they're going to do. You got to just almost run the race and just say, hey, listen, this is where we ended up with. And so I feel like I always do a great job of not, falling in love with one guy, but just saying, hey, listen, I'm going to recruit all of them, and what's meant to be will be. And, I always say this to recruits that I come across with, hey, the Lord's got a plan for you, and he's going to put you where he needs you when he needs you there. And so, and I tell young coaches this, when I think every position coach dreams of being a coordinator, and every, coordinator dreams of being a head coach. And you spend all your time dreaming about it, that it's going to happen. Just don't worry about dreaming about it. You just get ready for when it's going to happen, because it's going to happen. Eventually, if you stay around this business long enough, they're going to make you a coordinator. Eventually, if you stay in this business long enough, they're going to make you a head coach. I tell that to recruits that come across too, like, hey, I know it's your dream. Like, hey, just get ready for when it does happen, because it's going to happen. There's somewhere that you can play. Now, it may not be, the biggest institution in the state, right? For us, it may not be at the University of Arkansas, but there is somewhere that you can play. And so your dreams can become a reality. Just continue to do what got you here, continue working, continue listening to that high school coach, because they know what's best for you. And then, be ready when it does happen.
Okay. A couple more questions I got you on here. So, Coach, I know y'all do camps, and I know there's the All Arkansas camp, and then there's these rivals camps, and there's this camps, and there's these whatever camps. So,
yeah,
our kids are like every other kid. They get 35 pieces of mail, and they come ask me, Coach, what would you do? So, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I say this, okay. And when I got married to my wife, I married my wife because she was in love with me too. And there's been plenty of girls that I dated before her that I thought she was pretty. I thought she was nice, but she didn't really care about me. And recruiting is a lot of the same way. It's a two-way street. And so if a school is actively recruiting you, you reach out to them, right? Build a relationship. And I think that's the underlying point of camps, right? Is that's an opportunity for that young man to go to a place that he's interested in, that's also interested in him, and build that relationship, right? And I think a lot of times, where the high school coach comes in that picture, right? I think a lot of times that, if they're a player of the caliber of the biggest school in the state, right? Say the University of Arkansas, right? Help them get there. If they're not, say, hey, listen, it would be a great camp to go to, but here's, to me, where I think you could, make a little bit more hay at, or you can make a little bit more of a difference at, or have more impact at. So let's make sure we get you to this camp, right? You can meet your position coach, you can meet the head coach, you can build that relationship. They get to work with you, they get to build that relationship with you. They know what you can do, how you would fit. And so that would be what I would tell them is, it's recruiting's a two-way street. If a school's interested in you, you be interested in them. Now, you text them and they're not texting you back, right? Well, then, don't give them the time of day. You go to you text and you go to the schools that are texting you back. And same thing I'd say with dating, right? If you're talking to a girl and she's not interested in you, don't waste your time. You go to the next one because there's somebody out there that deserves you, right? And you deserve somebody that wants you. And so you go where you're loved and where you feel like you can, where you feel like they love you.
Got it. No, that was perfect, Coach. That's what I've been trying to visit with ours is, okay, well, who's still texting you? Like, that's the schools that we assume are still interested. And if they're not, that's the hard part of that street. But, man, that's good advice if you're a high school coach trying to do it because, guys, it's a tough navigational thing, and all of us are going to fight for our kids. And I'd imagine Coach goes from school to school to school, and if every coach is doing his job, he's pushing his kids. I'm constantly pushing. I think I send out our kids, and I've got about 4 or 5 of them that I'll send out. I think I'm sending something out 2 or 3 times a day. And I hope I'm not blowing these poor guys up, but trying to just get our kids exposed.
I've always viewed this as my role as well. If I get to a point where I can't take a young man, like I'm not done with him, right? My job is to still help that young man find something. So I feel like I text other coaches as well, like, hey, you need to check this guy out. This is great. I wish we could take him. We just don't have the scholarship money, or something like that. And so I feel like I'm always advocating for high school guys as well, and pushing them to other college coaches that maybe they didn't get to see, or if I talk to a coach and say, hey, what are you guys looking for? Oh, we need this. Oh, hey, check this guy out, right? And so I feel like I always try to do more for high school student athletes as well, and especially coaches that I know, coaches that I visit, right? And that's the compassionate side of me that I feel like that a lot of college coaches need to do.
Okay. All right, last thing we got you on here, Coach, I want to talk some schemes. We'll get off recruiting here for a minute. Let's talk a little bit of scheme. So,
yes, sir.
Quarterback run game. A high school game, man, you can make some serious quarterback run game, and I think that has trickled up.
Yep.
Arkansas Tech, what's that going to look like for you guys? Are you going to run the quarterback? Are you not going to run the quarterback? You're scared of getting them hurt. How's that look?
Oh, we're going to run the quarterback. Like I said, been with Coach Dearman for a long time. He was at Auburn with Coach Malzahn, and Coach Malzahn's obviously had a great impact on the state of in football here and in the state of Arkansas. And so we definitely want a guy that can extend plays with his feet, that can run the ball. I think sometimes having the +1 runs, right, where quarterback's the extra hat, right, puts a different stress on the defense, right? Now I'm one of the few guys I feel like I've come across an offense that's had to defend that. When some of the best experience I ever got was the one year that I was a defensive coordinator for Coach Dearman, and I had to defend the offense really that I'm running right now. And you really you see the game differently, and you really understand the stressors that a running quarterback can put on a defense. And so to me, right, there's going to be an element of misdirection, but there's also going to be that element of quarterback run in some form or fashion. And sometimes it's a true quarterback running it. Sometimes it's the quarterback position running it, where it's not always the quarterback. But the +1 run, as it would be, whether it's just a direct snap to a running back, whether it's a true quarterback run game. And I'm not always just talking about zone read, right, where, hey, you're reading guys. Sometimes it's just, hey, we're going to use the quarterback as a running back, let the running back lead block, right? Those are always things that that I've always thought were tough to defend, and so they've always been a special part of my offense.
That's one thing that we've. I had a baby last year, as a sophomore quarterback, really, really talented. He's a junior this year, and man, the offense get a lot more fun to call. Because we're doing not only +1 runs. Mm-hmm. Now I'm taking that back and running him on like a rail route and reading the corner on buck sweep, and that's some dirty stuff right there.
Oh yeah. And that I'm telling you right now, you probably got some defensive coordinators in that league that don't like you very much.
No, that's the goal. Well, I got to figure out Arkadelphia, Coach. So I got to run something that gives me more than 6 points.
Yeah. But it really is not. That's one thing that I think high school coaches see more of that, I think, sometimes than college coaches. And so I think sometimes they think differently. Like, oh, well, what if this guy just keeps the ball right here, right? Or what if you get your true option relationship out of there? How we defend it? Who's the quarterback guy? Who's the pitch man? Who's the dive man? Right? You guys probably think more about that than your traditional college coach does.
Yeah, and just because it's different, and we got to be unorthodox.
Yep. And I'll say this, and I've got a little. If you want to truly talk X's and O's, I've got some some presentations. I'd love to be back, and we can talk all the X's and O's that you want, and kind of how I see it. I'll say this in my background. Primarily, you're right. I've been with running backs. I've been with receivers. I've been with basically everything but O-line. And I've always been blessed to have a good O-line coach. Our guy here, we GA together here and been blessed to move around together. But I got a unique perspective in that way. But the two positions I feel like I've been with the most in the last 6 years was quarterbacks and tight ends. And so as it relates to us, right, everything offensively revolves around how can I keep everything the same for the 5 O-linemen. Because I feel like on any given Saturday for us, they've got the most put on them with the amount of fronts that they see. So it's about how can I keep it the same for them, still be multiple, still present a lot of issues to defenses, right? And so for us, the tight end a lot of times, right, is the adapter, just like your traditional 11 and 10, right? But what we're going to do more of is we're going to have 2 tight ends out there a lot of times, and sometimes it's going to be a tight end, sometimes it may just be an extra O-lineman. And so sometimes it may be an extra O-lineman with an eligible number, and so we're going to present some issues like this, some personnel issues. But at times I want my 6 best blockers out there. At times I want my 4 best receivers out there. At times I want 3 receivers, 1 good blocker. And so depending on the situation in the game, that's what we're going to put out there. So the situation is going to dictate our personnel, but our personnel is not going to dictate our formation. We're going to have some fun here. And I think the guys in the spring that we've been here, they really got to see some of the fun things that we can do. And they really bought into what we believe here offensively. And so would love to get on another podcast and just truly talk X's and O's with you guys. I think there's a lot of stuff that high school coaches would really like. I think there's a lot of stuff that could really help them because there's going to be times where we're an 11, but we're going to really get to 12 with the receiver, or we're in 11, but we're going to be in a 10 picture, right? Which is fairly common now. I think you see that, but it's easy to be in heavier personnels and look in a lighter personnel formations. But what we're going to do a lot of is we're going to be in an 11, but give you a 12 formation, where you got to figure out how do you want to play that guy, because now that guy could add himself into the blocking surface, but he can also be a legitimate receiver in the passing game. So we're going to do some fun things like that in that world right now. And that's just what the personnel that the Lord's given me right now. And I think that it's going to be fun to use. Absolutely.
All right, man. I think we've pushed through everything, Coach. We greatly appreciate your time. Kenny, real quick, let's do our today's lesson for what not to do as a coach.
Oh, yeah. Well, man, Coach, again, appreciate you coming on here. I think the biggest lesson for me as a coach that I've learned and just talking with – we've been blessed to have great coaches like Coach here. We had Coach Mazzoni on. We've had some other good Moorhead came on and talking to some of those guys. And then we've had guys that have been their second year coaching high school football or whatever it is I think it's to think that you don't matter as a coach. Like, I think that's kind of where it is you matter. Coach matters a ton at Arkansas Tech. He knows he matters, and he matters to those kids and those parents and everybody's life. If you're a first-year junior high coach, you matter. You matter to those coaches. If you are coaching Pee Wee football, you matter to those kids. And I think that's kind of the deal he kind of hit on. I liked his patience and persistence kind of deal was, and I think it's kind of be where you are, be the best of where you are. And when it's time to move up, it's time to move up. Because that's one thing I've worked on. I'm losing one of my really good ones here to Green Forest, to Greenland. I keep calling it wrong, to go be a head coach. So Coach May is going to go over there. And to me, that's one of the most rewarding things as possible as a coach is watching guys get that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Knowing they're going to impact other people. And so whatever level you're at, and Brock has been great here. Hate that we're going to lose him, but he waited his time. And when it was time for him to go, he's ready to go now. Instead of wishing it might have been earlier, or wishing it might have been this, or wishing it might have been that, or being disgruntled with his current position, he just did a really, really good job. And he got better and better and better, and then his time came. So to me, that's kind of the lesson. A coach kind of hit on a little bit of whether you're a player, a coach, whatever it is be whatever you can be where you are, and opportunities are going to come. They don't always come. I say the Lord's time and my time don't always get together. My time seems to be in warp speed. Sometimes his time is not that, but generally when his time is ready, it's going to happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell guys this all the time. I tell my coaches, hey, listen, you may be the only bright spot in that kid's day that day. Never underestimate the influence that you have on the men you encounter. you don't know what he's really been through that day. I mean, he could have had just a terrible day, and maybe you had a terrible day too, but he needs you to be the bright spot in his day. And then, for coaches, like I said, same thing I tell the kids, the Lord's got a plan for you, right? And you never know, but where it's going to be, when it's going to be, but it's going to happen for you. And just be prepared when you do, because our ultimate job, our ultimate goal is to make a difference in the lives of the young men that we encounter. And so be prepared when you do get that opportunity, right? And keep the main things the main thing. That was a lesson Coach Knight taught me the year I was at Ouachita. Keep the main things the main things, and just be ready when it does happen.
Good deal. I got one more thing, Daniel. Don't do too much church on the podcast, but we was at church the other day. They were talking about the story. I don't know if you guys know much Bible, but if you do, story where Peter is in jail and all the people there are praying for him to be released. So they're sitting around praying. I think it's in Acts, praying that Peter gets released. God comes in and performs a miracle. Peter's released. He walks there. He knocks on the door, and they don't believe that it's him. And I thought, man, what a lesson there. Like, we pray for these things. We want these things. And then sometimes we're shocked when God answers. And so be ready for when that moment comes. I think was the lesson that night was, you're going to pray for it. You're going to prepare for it. Be ready, because it's going to happen.
Absolutely. Stay ready.
All right, gents, we will start closing out here. Talk to sponsors. If you haven't contacted Ace Sports yet, now is the time. Get a hold of Mark, Ryan, RJ. Depending on what state you're in, they may have a different rep for you. Mark Bridges is a great contact. All of his information is in the ad earlier in the episode and in every other episode we've had for the last year or so. Reach out to those guys to help with fundraising. Go get a new book. Kenny's got the 3-4 Swarm version 2. He's got the Gun T 6.0. Lots of great books out there. The Play Caller's Guide was another great one. These are all like fairly modern, newer releases of the stuff that he's selling over there. Coach, social media wise, if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to make contact?
Yeah, I can give you my cell phone number. It's 479-438-1697. You can get I've got Twitter. It's at Kevin NJ Wewers. Got an email. Anyway, anybody that wants to come visit us at Arkansas Tech would love to have you guys. Text me, call me. Any way you can get a hold of me. But I'm a servant. I'm here to serve everybody that I encounter too. So anything that I can do to help you, I want to. Anything Arkansas Tech University can do to help you, we want to. We're here for everybody that's watching this podcast, and want to help make you guys the best version of yourselves that we can too. And so maybe there's one thing that I have that would be good for you. We anything that's mine is yours. So come see us, whether it's camp, whether it's just come to talk ball. We want you guys here.
I love it, man.
Coach, I may be reaching out to you too. We do obviously the podcast. It's hard to do X and O's when it's a lot of it's audio. But we do an offensive coordinator academy. So if you guys are in that, I'm gonna maybe try to get Coach to do a couple lessons in that for us.
Yeah, and I can drive up there and visit with you. Or I can do whatever I need to do. I mean, you're not too far from us, and so I can get on Zoom here. I got plays. I got some film. I got some. I actually did a presentation at Arkansas State a couple weeks ago, Coach Jones, and so. Feel like I got some stuff that I think would be very pertinent that if I was a high school coach, I would still be doing, and that I think would be really interesting for high school coaches.
Perfect, Coach. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Love it. All right, guys, we want to thank you for being a listener to the Coaching 101 podcast. We'll hope you join us next week as we continue to make the complex more simple. Please consider subscribing to the show so you'll always know when the new episodes are out. We'll leave you with this. It's hard to beat someone who never gives up. No matter the situation, find a way.